Welcome inside our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center. I'm Jessica Coody, and it is a massive day for Nebraska football with National Signing Day, but it's also a huge day for Nebraska Track and Field, as a couple of these signees are going to be participating in track and field here for the Huskers as well. So to talk a little bit about that and give that perspective, we have assistant coach for Nebraska Track and Field, Brenton Emanuel. Well, exciting day for you guys too, right?
It's a great day to be a Husker, is all I can say.
That's awesome. Well, let's start with Brice Turner. I mean, this kid is fast. He can fly. You've been recruiting him for a while.
Yeah, so it started late spring, went down there, was recruiting just in general, saw his name pop up, kind of got in contact with him, went down and did a visit in July and kind of hit it off with him. He's a really humble kid, takes care of his siblings, and just a great kid. And he's very, for a 10-2 guy, he's pretty elite, one of the best in the country on the track. You would never know it. He's so humble, and kind of hit it off and just kind of stayed in contact with them all fall, and they really worked out with football towards the end. So it's been a great recruitment for us.
Yeah, it's awesome. So he's a state champion in the 100 and the 200. Can you break down his times and where that stands in potentially the Big Ten and the country, all of that?
Absolutely. So, he's run 10:25 and 20.9. Typically in the Big Ten, to make a final in the 100, you have to run 10:3 or faster. So he's already, as a junior in high school, he's going to score in the Big Ten. 20.9 is going to get you in the final, probably 7th or 8th. Again, that's as a junior. So he's potentially one of the best recruits to ever step on the track for us. Our school record is 10:16, I believe it is, in the 100, and 20.1. So he's not too far off in both of those. You look at that as a junior. This kid's just fast. I think he's going to be someone, I've heard from coaches at the University of Texas and other schools, this could be one of the best track kids in the country. He could be someone that could break sub-10 in the 100, which is really hard to do. As you get to 10-2, running 10-1 and 10-0 is hard to continue to get that fast. And he's just a baby in track and field, track and field terms.
Wow. A lot of people are talking about Texas being a hotbed for high school football, but it is a hotbed for track, right?
It is amazing for track. You have kids that don't make the state meet that go on to be All-Americans, national champions. So It's a place that, for Nebraska has always been really good for us over the years. And I wanted to make sure that we established that, that pipeline again. And so, as well as our other coaches, Coach Johnson, our new jumps coach, he coached down there for 5 years, coaching football and stuff like that. So he has a good pipeline in Dallas. As well as Houston. And so we're just going to try to use that pipeline as much as possible because it's a great state. It's fast. I mean, they run year-round. They train year-round. So it's about a bunch of great kids, male and female, down there.
So you were recruiting Bryce. He said he wanted to play football, too. So then you reached out to this new staff. Yep. How did that work?
So I actually reached out to the previous staff a little bit. And they, I think because of the changes around here, didn't know what was going to happen. Reached out to Coach Cooper, talked to him. He's like, hey, send me his video. Typical, I think – earning each other's trust. Obviously their coaches and student staff has done really well where they've been, but they don't know me very well. And so I said, hey, here's a video of a kid that I've been recruiting. He won state. He's really fast. Check out his football video, coach. He said, all right, I'll check it out. Within 5 minutes, he's like, send me his number. We're going to offer this kid. And he's like, will this kid commit immediately? I said, yeah, I think he would. He wants to play football and run track. And we were the only school really at this level that was recruiting him like that. And so within 20 minutes, Bryce was offered, committed. It was amazing. I started laughing. I was talking to the head coach and our jumps coach about it because I wanted this to happen like a while ago, but I knew football had to be involved. And for it to happen within 20 minutes, for him getting offered and committed, it was amazing.
What was your first conversation like with him after he committed? And
he was so thankful, so thankful. He called me and he said, well, I talked to him right after he committed. I said, Bryce, I'm so happy that you're a Husker finally. I told you I was going to take care of you, and it worked out. And he's just like, Coach, thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. I really appreciate everything you've done for me and staying by me throughout this whole recruitment process. And so that really warmed my heart, knowing that I told him I was going to come through for him, and I did. And then, too, that he's so appreciative of the opportunity. And they were here this past weekend. Unfortunately, we're in a dead period, so I couldn't even see him. But I was texting with him and his uncle and his family and stuff like that, and they were so excited to be here. And so he's just so grateful for this opportunity. He's just a great kid, to be honest with you.
We've heard a lot from this new coaching staff about recruiting track guys and the speed, and they've done it before, and at every stop they've been. How exciting is it for you guys as a staff to know that you could potentially continue to work with them?
I mean, it's awesome. First thing we did when Coach Rule was hired, obviously we know as a football coach he's great. When we talked to the track coach at Baylor, and at one time when he was at Baylor, he had 6 starters running track, doing track and field. And so right there you can see his commitment to that. And having a staff, like I've worked with other staffs that say, oh, we want you to help out. But typically they use us when the recruitment process, then we never see the kid ever again. Where here there's proof in the work, in the body of work, where he's let kids go out and run track. And so from a standpoint, talking to those guys, talked to them last night about another kid, a kid for a 2024 class. I think it's going to be a good relationship for the future, for not only for football, but also for track and field, where you have two new head coaches taking over programs that are very storied. I can just see a lot of good success on both sides of the fence. Football is going to do great, and track we're trending upwards. And then having kids that can do both is going to make our school be more marketable for those dual sport athletes.
All right, Jaylen Lloyd, a Nebraska kid. He's a legacy. His mom was an absolute all-star, is All-American. Dahlia Ingram Lloyd. How excited were you guys to get him committed too?
Very excited. That's been a long process, to be honest with you. A couple different home visits, a lot of different coaches talking. I think we've counted at least 5 different head coaches have talked to him since his recruitment started from Nebraska.
Wow.
So yeah, 3 in football, 2 in track. We actually offered early in September, but again, for him, coming to Nebraska was about playing football. I think there's something in the water in Nebraska when it comes to the football program, obviously, where people, they want to play, they want to put on that jersey. And so for him, he wanted that commitment from them. And I don't know what happened on that side of the fence, but I know when Coach Rule got the job, Jalen was supposed to make his commitment to the university that Saturday. Coach Rule gets the job. He calls off his commitment. We were able to talk to them again. Football's calling me like, hey, do you guys want this kid? Yes, he's a 25-foot long jumper, one of the best in the country, not the best in the country. Yes, we do want this kid. And so we were able to kind of figure out a plan of how to approach this. And myself, our head coach, Justin St. Clair, our jumps coach, Vincent Johnson, went down to see him about maybe a week and a half ago to talk to him about the track side of things. And prior to that, Coach Johnson and I went and talked to the strength coach for football and said, hey, this is how the plan is going to be for him to be successful here and doing both sports. And so right off the bat, they've been so good, football, with strength conditioning, and the whole assistant coaches of communicating and being on the same page. I think that's been really easy for us. And then to get Jalen, a home state talent, he's the best jumper in the country. And we almost let him walk out the state, not necessarily on purpose, but just because of how things were going with the previous staff. And it was like, this is not a good situation for us. We want to protect our house. We want to protect our homeland. And I think you can tell with the football class with Malachi, Jalen, and then we also have the kid that got third in the 200 to those two guys, or he won the 200 actually, was fifth in the 100 to those two guys. Jack Galogli is from Nebraska. So we have the 3 top sprinters and athletes in track and field that are coming here to play for Nebraska, or run for Nebraska. It's pretty amazing. I think that our commitment from both of our staffs is so dedicated to keeping protecting our house.
That's amazing. Yeah, so Jalen was a national champion in the long jump at the Nike Outdoor Nationals. That's a huge deal, right?
It is a huge deal. That is the top meet you want to be at. That's where the best of the best is. It's probably the second best meet to U20 Worlds. I think Jalen probably could have gone to that had he not want to play football this fall, because that was in August. And so what he's been able to do, obviously his mom, he has great genes. His mom was a phenomenal athlete. Dad, there's a joke about his dad. I'm not going to say it because it was kind of funny, but I'll keep it in between our staff and him. But his dad is a great coach as well. His dad has been there from day one coaching him. And I think that was pretty cool that his mom kind of takes the mom role and dad is able to coach him and develop him really well. And so to have a guy that's probably, easily top 2 in the country, maybe top 5 in the world, coming out of high school, coming to Nebraska, I think that says a lot about where the program is headed for both sides.
And Dahlia, again, the Nebraska track and field for the women's side has got a long history. And so,
Absolutely.
I don't know if people realize, if they're just a football fan, that how big of a role she probably played in you talk about storied tradition, and especially for women's sports. This is kind of like the first that really got it going here.
Yeah, and you talked to her. The first thing she said, Dahlia Ingram, I'm Jalen's mom, 9-time All-American from Nebraska.
9-time, wow.
9-time All-American. And obviously she's a great person. So she's someone that we want to be a part of this program. And I think it's important for us as a track and field staff to continue, what Coach St. Clair has said is get the alumni back involved. And now having one of the biggest dogs that have been out there, and Dahlia Ingram coming back to our program and with her son, is going to be huge for connecting with the alumni again and just getting them around and having them excited, because now her kid's out there, her baby boy's out there jumping for us and playing football on Saturday. So it's going to be a pretty cool just bringing alumni together again for the track and field staff, and also for the women's program to have someone like that around to see this is what she did, and look at her life now. She's very successful in Omaha. Her son's here, and so I think it's be really good for just people to just be able to talk to her. And she's one of the goats of Nebraska track and field.
So you're talking these 2 kids right here, especially Bryce Turner, Jaylen Lloyd, could come in and immediately make an impact for Nebraska Track and Field.
Absolutely. I think, in the long jump, Jalen will be one of the top guys in the conference in long and triple. I think Coach Johnson will be able to kind of figure out what he can do with him and what events is best for him. Obviously, Brice is going to be a great sprinter right off the bat. 2 guys that could be a part of our relay. We also signed a kid that ran 10-2 from Kansas. So the joke was, like, how many 10-2 guys can you guys get in Nebraska in one recruiting class? And
can't get enough, right?
No, we can't get enough. We can never have enough 10-2 guys around here. But those guys could be really big staples for our track and field program. And I think the class we had this past year, we have a guy from Texas that ran 20.66 that's here now as a freshman. Nebraska sprints and hurdles should be pretty good for the future.
It's been a while since you had a football guy run track or track guy play football. Probably going to figure it out as you go. I know we had a volleyball player, Maggie Mendelson, that played volleyball and basketball, but you talked about the communication's already there and you guys are working together so well. What will it potentially look like for these guys, or is it still a work in progress?
Well, I think it's still a work in progress. Obviously, they're still doing their recruiting, but we already kind of talked to the strength and conditioning, because that's one of the most important things, because during the offseason for football, he kind of controls all the workouts. And so we've kind of talked briefly about, making sure when they're in track, they do track stuff. When they're in football, they do football stuff. If they're up for a job, to make sure that they have enough of tape for them to be fighting for a starting job. But I think, we're going to figure out the kind of nuts and bolts as we kind of figure it out. But I think from a recruiting standpoint, we're killing it, because all of us on our staff, we're committed to winning. Football is definitely committed to winning. And so that's one of the biggest battles right there, having the same mindset of what we want to do. Football wants to be national championship, contenders. So do we in track and field. And so when you have 2 staffs that are really competitive that also work together, that's a scary thing right there.
Absolutely. You mentioned the word competitive, because I asked Marcus Satterfield about it, the offensive coordinator, and he's, about why they're okay with the track and field, because some coaches aren't. And he said, we want competitors. If they're going out there and competing, that's what we want. I got to imagine you guys feel the same way with them playing football.
Absolutely. And I think all of our coaching, Coach St. Clair, Coach Johnson, and myself, all had guys to do both. And so we understand we're not going to take away from what they're doing on the football field. We're only going to make them faster and better and stronger when they go back. And we want to be competitive. We want to, track and field has had won like 79 conference championships or something like that, something ridiculous. We want to continue that history and just continue that brand of winning. And so we want guys that want to win. We don't want to show up, fight for second, third place. We want to be top dog, and that's a goal. I think football feels the same way. So right there, you have 2 staff recruiting the same type of animal, competitive, fast people.
Love it, love it. How are the new facilities coming up?
They're going pretty well. We're working on the outdoor facility as far as like getting the stands and some of the buildings around the facility, but it's going to be one of the best in the country. The ultimate goal is hopefully host the state meet here for Nebraska, which I think, again, there's great football talent here. So you have those kids coming down, seeing our track facility when they're in track season. And then, even football has changed their tour. They stop by our indoor facility every single time now to show the football guys what we're working with. And that's going to help us even more, knowing that we have one of the only banked hydraulic tracks out there in the world. So here, Nebraska's facilities are top notch, and with the new football facility going up, and then with our track facility that's already there indoor-wise, and what we're going to do outdoor-wise, it's going to be a pretty amazing setup for us.
Exciting stuff. Appreciate you giving your perspective, because it's been pretty unique. First time we're talking about it. I know fans have been interested in it, and so we'll look forward to seeing these Huskers compete both on the track and on the football field. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.